fan storming. I have some really, really strong opinions on fan storming. Set the table for us because it hasn't been that long that Tennessee stormed the field, and that was in 2022 against said Alabama. But Caleb, the most recent situation has gotten Caitlin Clark knocked around, and now another player knocked around on the court, and that can't work, right?
No, it can't work at all. So yes, against Wake Forest over the weekend, Wake Forest upset Duke, and a Duke player, Kyle Filipowski, basically was tripped. Now, some people say he tried to trip a Wake Forest player. It is a little sketchy in the way he acted. He was upset, but either way, fans rushed the court. He tripped over a player and he sprained his ankle, trying to get off the court after losing a game,
Okay.
and that has led to more repeated calls for should more be done about storming the court. And here's the truth. Now, the ACC has no punishments. The SEC does. These punishments are laughable. How are you going to sit there and get 100,000 drunk fans like at Neyland Stadium or 20,000 at Food City Arena or Thompson Bowling? You know, they're drunk. They want to celebrate the win. You think the minute they get to the court, they're like, I don't want my school to have to pay this $25,000 fine, guys. You
You know
think
what I
that's
would
going to
do?
stop them?
You know what I would do? I have some very strong feelings about this because when did Georgia break the streak against Tennessee? What year was that in Athens?
2000. 2000.
2000. And that's when they stormed the field, right?
Yep.
I found myself in the middle of a group of people that I was down there doing my job. I was going to the locker room to do interviews. And the push behind me, I'm a pretty big dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
The push behind me was so strong of people charging the field that me and another person who I didn't know knocked down two females in front of us because we were pushed into them. They went down. I'm telling you, it was all I could do to hold back the crowd for half a second to help one girl up, and he helped the other one. So you asked me, what can they do? It's called ice hockey. If your school charges the field, then you put up ice hockey barriers for the next season. Go ahead, and that will eliminate it. Call the NFL. Nobody charges the field in the NFL. Nobody charges the field in other sports. I understand the passion's different, but there has to be a way to police that. We're going to talk with Michael Lewis of Herald Group Security Solutions later in the week about how you could do that. But that's my answer. You charge it once, the entire rest of the season, you are going to have an ice hockey type of glass in front of you as you watch the game.
Ooh. You know, that's not a crazy idea. Um that's creative. I'm going to go
I
a
mean,
little
this,
simpler.
listen, this is not cool. That's their workspace. It wouldn't be, I would expect Caleb to be throwing punches if somebody ran into his workspace right now and interrupted him. Okay. So you run into, that's why I kind of saw the Alabama player's point of view in that I'm not saying I'm supporting him. Don't get me wrong, Caleb, but I saw your eyes get bigger. I understood that he was overtaken by emotion from the game, and then people charge into your office. I mean, imagine you just had Caleb the worst day possible, and it's 5 o'clock, and you're getting ready to clock out, and somebody just comes in and yells at you about how bad your day was and rubs it in your face. So I don't want to get caught up on the Alabama game, but it's got to stop. Somebody is
I'll
going
tell
to
you
get hurt.
I'll tell you this much. I do believe that once you step on the court or once you step on the field, your rights end. You are not protected if
Okay.
you willingly choose to do that. And, you know, you don't get to put it this way. Now, this wasn't, luckily, nothing severe happened in that. And you're right, Jermaine Burton shouldn't have done what he did. However, I am somebody who believes that if you go onto the court or field and a player knocks the crap out of you, you should not be allowed to file criminal charges against him because you willingly went onto the court. And that there's precedent for this. There's precedent for this.
I think I'm
The
okay with
Det-
both of those. Maybe your steps are better preliminary, and if it doesn't work, how about my steps?
no, that's fine. I'm fine with that. Do you remember the Pacers Pistons brawl in
Oh yeah,
2003?
oh yeah.
One of the greatest moments in sports history, right?
It was
Like one of the most
fixed.
epic. Do you remember the player that Jermaine O'Neal, or not the fan that ran onto the court and tried to throw a punch at Jermaine O'Neal, and Jermaine O'Neal just knocked him out?
I don't remember the specifics, but yes, I do remember how
Fan,
bizarro it got.
yeah, fan ran onto a court, tried to punch Jermaine O'Neal. Jermaine O'Neal punched back. Luckily for Jermaine O'Neal, he slipped on some water. Otherwise, he might have killed the guy. He just knocked him out instead. People were all calling for charges for players. The Detroit or the Wayne County DA basically reviewed that case and actually filed criminal charges against the fan, not Jermaine O'Neal. Basically said, look, you stepped onto the court into his workspace. He has every right to do whatever he wants to you at that point. And
Dan brings up a really good point on our message boards. You won't stop the civil cases, though. You would almost need an across the board law saying that if you step, like you said, if you step on that court, that work area, that field, that you don't have any rights. Could that happen?
Yes.
I don't know if that's possible or not, but I'm for it because of the issues that I've had with crowd charging. Don Self at State Farm has no issues with customer service. That's because he's fantastic at it. For over 40 years, he's built his business and reputation on taking care of their customers. Collegedale and Ooltewah, greater Chattanooga area, 423-396-2126. State Farm agent. Everybody's shopping prices now, but customer service, when you make that claim, still matters. DonSelf.net right below, DonSelf.net, or 423-396-2126. Here's what's going to happen. You mean to be Nostradamus on you?
I'm ready.
There is going to be a player that is significantly, I'm not going to say severely, not like a Brew McCoy injury or anything like that, but significantly injured in which he misses time, and then the NCAA will do something.
Or whatever authority figure there is at the time. Because right now the conferences have their own court storming rules. I hope it's just that, Dave, because I fear something worse is going to happen. I think there was going to be a parent with their kid near the front row, and amidst the storming of everybody pushing forward to the front, some 10-year-old's going to get trampled to death.
Ooh, that would be awful. Well, I'll give you a situation. This is why you have to get this under control. So this was not a charging the field situation, but I covered a linebacker named E.J. Levenberry, who I think ended up at Florida State. Tennessee was in on him forever. And E.J. Levenberry, you know how you shake hands at midfield? You come across to the middle of the field and you shake hands when the football game's over. Well, some drunken fan all by himself runs out there and tries to start issues with E.J. Levenberry's team. Well, E.J. decked him, which I don't blame him for doing at all. And that's just one dude. I mean, if you can't control one dude, then how are you going to control thousands? I like your ideas, both of your ideas. But I think, as Dan brought up, civil cases will still be a factor. And I'm afraid your ideas aren't good enough. I hope they are, because I don't want an ice rink for a basketball game.
No, there's another way to do this, by the way. We need to call out the local authorities in all of these places in this sense. These are effectively riots. This is destruction of property. It's rioting. That's what it is. It's blatantly rioting. They should be passing laws in these local areas, and they never do because it'd be against their own fans. So no one's doing it. So maybe the NCAA and SEC should step in and say, "Hey, if you don't have any laws, then we'll have a punishment for them." There's enough good forms of AI technology and cameras now where you can find out who was in facial recognition. You can find out everybody who ran on the court and field, and you don't have to get everybody. Get 10% of them. Have them spend a significant amount of time in prison.
I like your idea. Again, you're throwing heat today, but I'd up it to about 50% to make sure that everybody knew. I don't want that one guy to get arrested and he keeps it to himself. He doesn't say anything, and maybe it flies under the radar. That's what I don't want. I want it to be enough guys where everybody in the fan base for Tennessee or whoever says, I ain't doing that. I'll lose my job if I have to. I don't know what you consider significant jail time. To me, significant jail time is 30 days because you're going to have to explain something to your employer, right?
Yes, I agree.
Now, past that's worse, but I could always say, Caleb, I've got a case of the swine flu and I'm going to be out for 2 weeks and go to jail for 2 weeks if I needed to. A month is a little bit more difficult.
And the thing is, we've created an era in college sports with partying and fandom where people think that there are things that you can do in that atmosphere that would not be allowed elsewhere. This is all storming the field, but do you remember the Alabama LSU national title game 12 years ago?
Yes.
Where the Alabama fan thought it would be funny to put his genitals on a passed out LSU fan's face?
Yes.
And I love what the state of Alabama or what the state of Louisiana did. That, you remember that they charged him with sexual assault, and he got real prison time. And I think he had to register as a sex offender. I don't know if he did or not, but you got to do stuff like that. You got to send a message. This will not be tolerated. The problem is you have to encourage the local communities. You have to encourage Knox County to punish Tennessee fans for storming the field against Alabama. And they're not going to be encouraged to do that.